In episode 387 of the Clive Barker Podcast, Jose and Ryan go over the past year, 2022, and talk about our favorite Barker news, releases, and podcast moments. We've also got a list from Ed and Nina of Coenobium. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram is a longtime friend of Clive and advocate of his art, but Don's unique and inspiring paintings are for sale, and over 50% of the proceeds go to the Arts and Medicine program at the Texas Children's Cancer Center. Click the side banner and follow the link to the Etsy shop where his artwork has returned from the local galleries.
All right, Ryan, it's episode 387, 2022 in review.
Yeah. All right, episode 387. I know. It's been a while since we put out an original episode, right? Our last one we did, the first one we did for this year was technically a rerun of something we did in 2016.
Right.
We were on a vacation, and I got to tell you, I had some issues. So if you know Washington State, right? It's divided up into two halves. You got Western Washington, and then there's the Cascade Mountains, and on the eastern side is like a desert and farming country, and it's Eastern Washington, and my mom lives there. So we took a plane down there to see my mom to Eastern Washington. And we spent some time there, and then we were taking a train across the mountains over to Western Washington to see Jennifer's mom. And so we did that, and then this weather hit, and our train back got canceled, and half of our stuff was over there. My computer was over there. And so we're like, okay, I guess we'll just change our flight and fly back to Fairbanks. And that flight got canceled.
Oh, jeez.
So we couldn't go back to get my stuff, and we couldn't go home. And so we said, okay, well, we've got another trip to Hawaii. I guess we're just going to stay here, and my mom will FedEx me our computers over here, and then we'll deal with the other stuff later. Right. So she sent the computers by FedEx, and they never arrived. And so then she changed the address to my house here in Fairbanks. And so then we ended up just going to Hawaii, and I never saw my computers again until like a few days ago. It took 3 weeks for the computers by FedEx. It's supposed to be 2 days, and it took 3 weeks for them to get here. We got back to Fairbanks after our Hawaii trip before the computers arrived. So that's why I ended up. I mean, it would have been perfect if the Yattering and Jack episode came out on Christmas Day, which is what I had planned. Yeah, but I couldn't do it because my computer was in the mail somewhere.
Jeez, what a mess!
Yeah, and we ended up having to mail. We didn't have Hawaii clothes. We had like Washington State clothes. So just like sweatshirts and pants and stuff.
Oh no!
So we had to mail all that stuff home and buy all new clothes for the trip.
Oh my God! Yeah. Jeez, that sucked. Yeah. But I guess in the middle of all that, you still managed to have a good time.
Well, and when we went to the airport, because Jennifer's mom lives like way out on the peninsula, and we had to take a ferry over to the airport, and so we went there the night before and stayed in a hotel by the airport, and then when we got there, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, your flight to Hawaii is canceled.
Oh man.
So while we were in line trying to talk to them and seeing if we could get on standby flights to Hawaii, and the next one was going to be in 3 days, and we're like, I think we just need to give up and go home. Jennifer got on to Delta's app and booked us on a flight that only had 3 seats available, and there's 3 of us. And we actually managed to get on a Delta flight that same day and fly out, and we could use the return trip that we already had. So it was really close. We almost had to cancel the whole thing.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah. That's what you get for traveling in the holiday season, huh?
Yeah. Well, I know, and that was why we had planned on being home on Christmas time, like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and the day after, and then we were going to fly out of here on the 28th to go to Hawaii. But there was freezing rain in Seattle, and it completely shut down the Portland airport, and all the people who were trying to fly through Portland got rerouted and canceled and stuff. And I had to wait in a line for 5 hours in the airport, and they had a special line just for people whose flights were canceled. And right when I got near the front of the line, a guy with a bullhorn came out and yelled at everybody, "We can't do anything for you. Everybody go home."
Wow.
It's like, people are at an airport. Where are they going to go home?
Well, back to the hotel, I guess. But you saw 3 days ago the FAA computer failure affected flights all over the United States.
Yeah, and they all got grounded.
And during that storm, which I think was when you were having the travel issues, we had that big snowstorm, cold storm that blew through America. Yeah. And here in Ohio, it's like my holiday season was totally uneventful because I've stayed home pretty much. Like I work from home. I stayed home. I mean, I did go out a few places, but not too far. I didn't travel more than a few miles away from home. But with all the snow that dropped here in Cleveland, I was looking outside. It's like everything's fluffy and quiet, and I was like, we're going to stay at home. So we had a great Christmas. We had a lot of gifts that we gathered through the year. We got some bad news about our cat, though. Our cat, Sasha, looks like he's in the early stages of renal failure. So we're trying to change his diet. And also he has an upper respiratory tract infection. He's doing that weird coughing sound and
how old
sneezing.
Is Sasha?
I think he is 14.
Oh, okay. Where did
14 or 15.
Where did you guys get him? Because, I mean, you moved to America before.
Yeah, Sarah already had Sasha before we met.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, Sasha already had.
So Lucifer, you guys got together.
Yes, right. We got Lucifer after I moved to the U.S. in 2013. It was during one of those times that I flew over to the U.S. to be with Sarah for a while to visit.
Yeah.
But I wasn't moving here yet, so it was about a few months after she got Lucy, I moved to the U.S. So that was it. Yeah, I think it was in 2012 that we got Lucy. Not sure. I think she was 6 months old at the time, but she's fine. She's super okay. We took the cats to the vet recently. On the same day that I did those AI images of Clue Cat, Stew Cat, and Blue Cat on Midjourney that a lot of people seem to have a big thing against. But when it was on that day that I took Sasha to the vet and Lucy, and they got their shots and they got blood tests and everything was fine. But anyway, thanks for tuning into the Travel and Pets podcast.
Yeah. Well, one cool thing about traveling is that when it was minus 40 or minus 50 in Fairbanks, we were taking surfing lessons and snorkeling with sea turtles and stuff like that.
I keep telling you, man, you got to do what Clive did, buy a house in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or retire to Arizona.
Yeah.
But you might turn into a big puddle at some
Actually,
point.
a lot of people, I know a few people that retired to Hawaii from Fairbanks.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah. Because I loved it. I spent my honeymoon there, as you know, and it was a great place. We went to the Oahu Island, the North Shore. You would see like regular sea turtles just sunbathing in the beach next to you, and you'd be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's pretty amazing. I didn't like the fact that its volcanic beaches are all covered in jagged, dark rocks, though.
Yeah, not all of them. I mean, sometimes it's sandy in the water too.
Yeah, I think some of that sand is brought in though, and they make artificial beaches with it. So I've heard.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there was one that was a black sand beach that we went to.
Oh, that's definitely like
it
real.
Was volcanic, yeah.
2023 is here, and you can make as many jokes as you want. 2022 didn't start very well for me, honestly. I got COVID during Christmas of 2021, so I started the new year with COVID, and then my wife had COVID halfway through the year again.
Our family had it during the year, and I can't remember what month it was now.
Yeah, it was a few months ago. I remember.
Yeah,
you thought you had dodged the bullet, but then it's like, nope. Jennifer, after Joel got it.
Yeah, they tested positive, and so I locked myself into a bedroom, and it didn't have. It's like I'd already picked it up at that point, probably. But I had tested positive that day, but then the next day I was negative, or other way around. Yeah.
And we got a lot of exciting things happen in terms of Clive Barker news, right, in 2023.
Yeah. So what we typically do on these episodes is kind of go through our favorite news and things that happened in the previous year. Last year was fun because we did Decade in Review.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, because we'd had 10 years of the podcast, so we went through 10 years of in review rather than just like the previous year. And so actually that's one of my picks was Decade in Review. I thought that was pretty neat to kind of revisit all that. It's a little tough to go back and listen to our early episodes because the sound quality wasn't too good. I mean, we were using the built-in microphones on the laptop and like gaming headsets and things like that. So our sound quality wasn't good, but still it was neat. And the whole Occupy Midian thing, was huge. That took up a huge part of our lives at that time. Right.
Yeah. And we did a lot of progress on the book in 2022. And we're actually in the process of finding an editor, finding a publisher for the book.
Yeah.
And Ann Bobby wrote a foreword for our book, which is amazing. It's moving forward. Hopefully this year it'll come out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're hoping. I need to talk to Ann Bobby had a lead on a publisher that might work with us, and I need to call her again and figure out what's happening with that. But for those out there listening that paid for this way back in 2017, the book's actually finished. As far as somebody needs to edit it, but as far as like what we're putting in it and stuff, that's done. So
yes.
And that took a long time, a lot longer than I would have thought, just because, transcribing interviews is hard work.
It's very hard work.
Yeah.
So that was fun. We had a lot of people join in for that, and it was hard coming up with that Decade in Review episode from 2022. Yeah. Was that one of your picks, the Decade in Review?
Yeah, that was.
Cool.
Oh, you gotta, and Ed and Nina sent us their picks too. We need to paste that in here to the notes, right?
It says in our list, 1, Martin Mercer interview. So that was actually one of my picks as well.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to be able to connect with Martin Mercer and hear about his work on Hellraiser and other movies. He was a lot of fun, and he was working on a children's book as well.
That's right, so yeah. That was great.
I think it's always amazing when we have special guests and people that you never imagined you were going to be talking to when you were watching Hellraiser at the time. You're like, wow, look at this movie. And it's like, who made the makeups? And then years after watching Hellraiser, I started getting into that, who made these makeups. And because, at the time, there wasn't a lot of stuff out there except for fanzines and the Hellbound Web and stuff like that, where you would find these bits and pieces of sketches and storyboards and information about interviews from Lost Souls. You would start learning things about how these movies were made. But there's nothing that beats actually speaking to the people who did special effects for the movies.
Yeah.
They can tell you exactly what was on their mind and how they did it. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
That was really cool.
Yeah, so that was also one of Ed's picks for our top 10 because he's a special effects artist, and I guess all the stuff that we did with special effects artists is very special to Ed as well, and Nina. So thank you, Ed.
All right, so my next one I think is probably also on your list, or I see that it is. Dark Worlds by Phil and Sarah Stokes.
Yes, what a great release for 2022, right?
Yeah. It's an amazing book. I love the sort of matte cover on it. I love the large format pages and the color artwork and the color photos and stuff, and the way that it's broken out into the different chapters about the different parts of Clive's life. It's a great book.
Yes. I like it as much as I like the Imaginer volumes. It's got that standard of quality that Phil and Sarah have gotten us used to. What an amazing book. I think I love the Imaginer books because of the art, but this one has art and content and interviews and essays, and you're touching the thing. You're touching the beast, right? Yeah. Like in the story of Dread, you're touching the beast when you go through this book. And it reminds you, if you've forgotten at any point, why Clive Barker is such an iconic author and why you grew up reading all of his books. And why you're still obsessed with Clive Barker 35 years after you started, reading his stuff and watching his movies.
To me, it felt like, it was 1990 again. And 1990 was the year that I kind of discovered Clive's stuff. And I had to get everything. And then all of a sudden, Shadows in Eden came out, which was like 91, I think.
And it reminds you, and it teaches you that Clive Barker is also a prolific artist.
Yeah.
And then And then those other art books came out. Those 2 soft cover books.
Yeah, the Illustrator.
Illustrator, yes,
yeah,
1 and 2. And did we do that in 2022?
I don't know if it was 2022.
I don't think it was. I think it was still 2021.
I think so too.
It's amazing because you're in that flow state after reading this book, and your mind is full of like things, and you remember things to talk about, the books that you love. And I thought it was a really amazing episode. And I remember I had gotten the book a short time ago, and when we did the episode, you hadn't received the book yet. And then once the episode was done recording, you got the book at home.
That's right. As soon as we got off the recording, that package was sitting there on the front step. Like, oh, man.
Darn barge.
I know. But then we got to talk about it again with Phil and Sarah Stokes.
Yeah, and luckily they had sent us a PDF review copy gracefully to us. So you were able to, get an idea of the book and read it before the actual physical book arrived.
And something that they mentioned, and that reading the PDF version of it doesn't really hold a candle to holding the physical book in your hands. I mean, that book is so awesome.
It is great. Thank you, Phil and Sarah, for your hard work on this book.
Yeah.
Definitely a marker of 2022 for Clive Barker collectors.
Yeah. Ed and Nina had picked the Mask of the Red Death commentary that we did in 2022. Yeah. I watched that in preparation for that, but that was my first time seeing that movie. So I saw it a couple of times for that episode, and that was great. I loved that movie. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Wait, did you say that was your first time watching that movie?
Yeah, I mean, I watched it in preparation, and then I watched it again for the episode. But I'm pretty sure that it was my first time seeing it. I mean, if I saw it before, it would have been when I was a teenager, but I don't remember. I don't think so.
Yeah. I did watch it when I was a teenager on TV. It was one of those things that, probably one of the first movies I saw that had Vincent Price in it. At the time, I didn't even know who Roger Corman was. And it's such a fun movie because it's shot so beautifully. And I think even for a Roger Corman movie, shows really good production values.
Yeah.
And it's just a cool story. And it's Edgar Allan Poe, and it's part of that great Corman Poe cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I've seen pretty much every single movie of that. And I agree with Ed and Nina. That is a great pick. We had a lot of fun with that, and I know Ed is always having a lot of fun when we do commentary tracks as well.
Yeah, that was terrific. I'm glad we got to do that one, and I like that we went back to the A to Z of horror to do these audio commentaries. I mean, even though it's taken up like 2.5 years of our podcast, it's been worth it, and we're not done. We actually still have one letter left to go. We have the letter Z for zombie.
And we might end up doing more than one movie for that, right?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I think I want to do Dawn of the Dead for sure. And then
more zombies.
If we do that, we might as well do Day of the Dead to sort of finish it off. And then Evil Dead we talked about also.
I'm on board. I'm on board for whatever you want to do because I love those movies. So any excuse to go back and watch them again and get into a deeper level of trivia knowledge about the movies is always a fun thing.
Yeah.
You end up learning things you never knew about the movies, and then you actually delve into some of that back history of the production, and it's great. It's a fun time.
Well, and for people out there that follow what we do may have noticed we didn't do a Kickstarter this year because, frankly, we have so much overflow from previous years of stuff that we could still finish off. And the Z for Zombie was supposed to be last year, and we didn't make it. We've got more Jericho Squad stuff to do. I mean, I guess I'm sort of skipping ahead to the end of the episode. And also I wanted to get the book done. I want that book published and out to people who pre-ordered it, and set up a new pre-order for anybody else that, it's been 5 years. So anybody else that wants to pre-order that.
I want to read it.
Yeah.
There's stuff I probably don't remember from those interviews. So I want to read that book.
Yeah.
It's going to be our little, iconic publication from Clive Barker Podcast.
Yeah.
And we still have a lot of stuff and material that we didn't include in this book. So, wow.
Because that book is all geared towards Nightbreed. So all the interviews and stuff was talking about Nightbreed, and it was mostly during the Occupy Midian time that those interviews happened. So that's only a small part of what we've done.
And a lot of our friends and listeners of the podcast and contributors worked on helping translate those books. So now we know just how much time consuming those things can be. Yeah. And we appreciate all the help that we got from everybody, including Raul from Discord and
Rob Reidenauer did a bunch of them.
Yeah. And you and me, everybody who helped. We did a lot of intros. It was a fun thing to revisit.
Yeah. I'm hoping this weekend I'm going to call and try to figure out what's happening with that. And if that's not going to work out, we need to go another direction. I mean, we have a backup plan, which was our original plan of just self-publishing it. And
that's a possibility. And Amazon has a project where we could do that. So I don't know. We're looking at options if this falls through.
And I can make the Apple Books version of it too.
Oh, that would be terrific. Yeah. Imagine that, because a lot of people use Apple Books.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it shouldn't only be in Apple Books, but I have the capability of doing that, so might as well.
Right. The more platforms available, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saving some of the most impactful moments for last, so let me pick another one.
I think everybody probably knows which one you're talking about.
So one of the things I'm not sure anybody picked was the 35th anniversary Hellraiser charity screening.
Yeah.
That our buddy Ian Swanson worked to make happen. Yeah. And Anthony Galatis made a poster for it. I made a little poster for it using the original Hellraiser art. And it was that screening had sponsors. Don Bertram was supported. Don Bertram's
Celebrate Imagination.
Project, Celebrate Imagination got a little check out of it for charity. So that was great. That was an amazing thing to help accomplish. And thank you, Ian, for all your hard work doing that.
Yeah, those proceeds went to the Texas Children's Cancer Center, which was so cool. And I was just amazed that he was able to throw that thing together. I mean, he was kind of humble about it, thought, that maybe the turnout could have been better or whatever. But I was like, man, I've never put anything like that together. I think that was super cool. You did
go to the Alaska convention.
Yeah, I set up a table at a convention.
That was pretty impressive. Yeah. That was pretty impressive. You put yourself out there.
Yeah, but it's not like setting up a Hellraiser screening. I would love to do that. I think that would be great. But I don't know. I would be afraid in Fairbanks how much turnout I would get. I mean, I would really, if we did something like that, I would want to do it in a way that we could all kind of be involved with it, because I don't know. I think I created a podcast because there's nobody here to talk to about Clive Barker stuff.
Right. I had the same problem in Portugal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So... yeah, this was a great job, Ian and Don Bertram and everybody involved making this happen, and the people, the convention that sponsored it and all that at the theater. Yeah. That was really a very inspiring event and a great way to celebrate Hellraiser's 35th anniversary.
Yeah. Way to go, Ian. Well, I guess I'll pick one then. I'm going to pick Midjourney, and we talked about that. That's a little controversial, I guess. There's people really railing against AI artwork, and I can understand why. What I don't care for is people trying to set themselves up as artists and setting up galleries and selling their AI artwork. That seems a little unfair. But on the other hand, proponents of it say, like, hey, if you're a photographer, all you're doing is pushing a button. And it's like, okay, now I don't really know where I fall on this, but I do know that this Midjourney helped me out a lot to get a bunch of incidental artwork for our Jericho Squad game that I wouldn't have been able to make myself, through conventional artistic means. I'm just not that good,
I think that's a positive. I think that's a positive for sure. I am actually subscribed to Midjourney right now, and I've been using it, and I'm going to gather up all the things that I've done and post them on the podcast this weekend. But
on the blog?
Yeah, I can do that on the blog if you'd like. Yeah, for sure. And then on Facebook.
Yeah, well, the blog is nice because it's forever, right? And Facebook things just kind of disappear down to the bottom and you never see them again.
I think you're right. So I've been using Midjourney as kind of like a fun tool, but that's all I do with it. It's just for fun.
Yeah.
I just like to think about something I want to see and try to make a prompt that would create the closest thing to it in my mind.
Yeah.
And just give a body to certain characters that I've come to love over the years. And I know Clive has done a lot of drawings, a lot of art for all the characters he creates, but this was like a different kind of fun project that I did. Like, okay, I'm going to do the cats from Thief of Always, in front of the house, and one of them has to be blue. So it's Blue Cat, Stew Cat, and Clue Cat. Yeah. And Clue Cat has a tail that looks like a question mark. And so Midjourney will pump out an image that kind of looks like that. And then you can choose variations. Yeah. You can upscale it. You can even go on Photoshop if you want afterwards and fix a few things. Like everybody who's used Midjourney, I think, knows about the problem with making hands with the right number of fingers, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, I was trying to make it draw something that was like one of our typical enemies that we always fight. And it ended up becoming something else, and it totally inspired me to take the whole game in a different direction. And I can't tell you what, because we're not there yet. I think that just because of, I didn't describe something quite right, or some word that I used was exaggerated in a way that I wasn't really expecting, and all of a sudden, wow, yeah, this is totally better than what I had in mind before. And so I think as a sort of a creative tool for
visualizing things.
Yeah, visualizing, brainstorming. It's great. And it doesn't hold a candle to the artists that did our portraits for our characters. Asia Yordanova and Shayla Sackinger from Bird Ninja Art.
Yeah.
Really appreciate their stuff. But for me to just make incidental things as I'm going along and planning the episodes and stuff, it's been really, really helpful and a tool that I didn't have available to me before.
Oh, I know. I mean, I guess you're subscribed to it too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how long I'll be subscribed, but I'm thinking about lowering my subscription to the one that has just 200 images per month, because I am actually on the higher tier subscription.
I did the 200 per month. I figured I'm not going to go past that. I mean, I'm really just using it for Jericho Squad stuff.
Okay. No, yeah, I'm using it for all sorts of things, and it's great because you don't have to go on that big chat where everybody's throwing prompts and seeing what comes out, because that moves really fast in the Discord. Of course, this will make no sense for people who don't know what Midjourney is and don't know how it works, but you can just direct message the bot, and the bot will just do it on your direct messages. All your images will be there. Or you can create a Discord server and invite the bot into it. Yeah. And be like your private server where you can hashtag, you can create channels for like what kind of art. This is going to be for book characters. This is going to be for creatures. This is going to be for architecture. This is going to be for whatever. And then you can just invite the bot into each different channel, make him do the thing that you want to do, and then it's just there and properly categorized.
And we have that bot in our Clive Barker Podcast Discord server too. So,
yes, and I want to say that Midjourney opened my eyes to Discord and kind of got me more involved with Discord, because I had never used Discord before. Yeah. I'd use Discord here and there, but it's more like I had an account and I would go in there and be like, oh, this is kind of like a IRC chat or something, from the old days. And to
me, it reminds me more of before that, like bulletin board systems where I used to call into my friend's Apple IIgs. And post messages, and then I would hang up, and somebody else would call in and post replies, and then they'd hang up.
Good times.
Yeah, before the World Wide Web and stuff.
Midjourney is really cool. I like that you brought that in, because I've seen some images you made for the Jericho game. You've made like a Baphomet, and you've made like a flying red dragon, and you've created characters for it. And actually, really cool.
that flying dragon is the thing that actually I forgot that you guys have seen that. So that was the thing that I made by accident. I was trying to create the righteous, and I said make a giant floating sort of blobby worm with a skull for a face, and it turned into what I thought was, a worm is tiny. So I said, make it a giant. So it's like human sized, but it made this huge colossus thing up in the sky. I'm like, oh my God, that's what wow, that's way better than what I had in mind.
Right.
So that spun this whole different direction of the podcast, of the game, as far as the tripartite god and stuff. And
I think some of the characters you've done, you were still using version 3 of Midjourney. Now there's version 4 that's very realistic, and it's a lot better.
Oh yeah.
And I deep dove into the whole Midjourney thing. So you can add all sorts of modifiers to your prompt. You can add weight to certain words in your prompt, so the computer will use more of this description and less of that description, but it's still using both descriptions. So you can put a number next to a word, and it would add weight to that choice, to that descriptor. There's all sorts of things.
I'll have to have you show me how to do that stuff.
Yeah, there's websites now that are prompt generators that will add, things and ask you what weight you want, and then just pump out the complete prompt, and you just put it on Midjourney and see what comes out.
Yeah, I hope
it's really fun.
I hope our artist friends out there aren't getting really angry with us for talking so much about Midjourney.
I mean, we're not using it for commercial purposes.
No.
So, and I'm only using it for fun, and I can say that 99% of the stuff I generate in Midjourney doesn't make it to Facebook at all, and it's not a product for sale. So I'm just using it for fun.
And for the Jericho Squad game, we've hired 3 different artists. So
we've done our part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
crush those bugs.
Yeah,
I'm just joking. I was making a Starship Troopers reference.
Oh yeah, right. The only good bug is a dead bug.
Yeah, I'm doing my part.
Yeah. Would you like to know more?
I would. So let's see what Ed and Nina used for their next bullet point here. One of their favorite moments of 2022 was the interview with Jeremy Aiello.
Yay! That was great.
That was so much fun. It was in my list as well, so I guess I can cross that one out. Yeah, right. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to interview Jeremy Aiello if it hadn't been for Ed and Nina. They really worked on getting us in touch with him and setting this up. And it was a really fun time because we got to talk to him about how he did the makeup effects for the Hell Priest in the new Hellraiser.
And I was just rewatching Ed's interview with Russell Effects last night. It was great to hear when he asked him, so who's sculpting the pinhead? And they're like, Jeremy Aiello. And he goes, oh my God, I know Jeremy Aiello. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah. So it was that was kind of a cool little moment to hear, when he figured that out or discovered that, and then it became part of the. And then that sort of spun it into us getting a chance to interview it, and thanks to Ed and Nina.
It also got Jeremy and Ed back to talking together and talking on the phone because they hadn't talked in a few years, and they kind of, each was doing his own thing, and then of course when he did the interview, they kind of rekindled it, and it was great. It was a wonderful time. A lot of interesting stuff from the episode, which I do recommend you guys go listen to.
Yeah.
If you haven't, because especially if you liked the new Hell Priest makeup from the David Bruckner Hellraiser.
Yeah, on Jamie Clayton.
Yes, thank you. And it's an amazing piece of work. And we also talk about all the things that he did throughout his career. So great episode.
Yeah.
Good choice, Ed.
Yeah, way to go. And thank you again, Ed, for helping us put that together. That was awesome. For my next one, I am going to throw a shout out to our friends at Little Spark Films and say that The Torturer is found its way onto Amazon Prime. Right? I mean, that's huge.
Oh my God! I picked something related to The Torturer too, but that's the big thing. Yeah, the Amazon Prime Torturer. What cool!
And that we were a small part of that, right? There's somebody wearing one of our T-shirts on a short film that's on Amazon Prime. I'm like, oh my God!
That's right. Thanks, Joe and Catalina, because what a cool movie with Paul T. Taylor, based on a Paul Kane story. Yeah,
it's amazing how stuff works out, and they work really hard. They really promote that movie hard, and every day on Twitter.
And they're part of our Jericho Squad game, which is awesome. It's a great way to stay in touch, and we love them. We love LSF, Little Spark Films. You guys are the best. We're so glad we got to know you and go to Texas and hang out with you guys. It's been the best.
It's a fun movie, a little uncomfortable to watch, but it's really good. Everybody should check it out. Everybody has Amazon Prime, right? You get that for the free shipping, and then all the movies and stuff are just a bonus.
That's why Bezos gets to go to the space in a giant dick rocket.
Yes,
bless his heart.
Right.
Awesome. That's a great choice, because my next choice would have been, well, actually, this is one of the runner-ups, but since so many of my things have been already picked out by you and Ed, I had a few runners-up, and one of them was the Torture commentary track.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because that was in 2022.
We did that when it was on Tubi. If we had just waited a little bit, we could have done it when it was on Amazon Prime and not had the commercial breaks. Commercial breaks kind of messed us up a little bit.
But hey, it was great when it hit Tubi and all the other platforms that it's been in, and then it finally hit Amazon Prime. So it was during the commentary track of The Torturer that I ended up, knowing more about Gringo Fantastico and Joe Manco's show on Trauma Now app. And while we were actually doing the commentary, I downloaded the app and I subscribed to it, and I'm still subscribed to Trauma Now. It's a lot of fun if you're into that sort of thing.
Oh man, I'll have to check that out. I still haven't done that.
$5 a month.
Yeah.
And you too can watch Sergeant Kabuki Man LAPD.
Yeah.
Or the Class of Nukem High, all the movies.
I've just seen number 2, I think.
And yeah, there's projects that Lloyd Kaufman has been in with the Little Spark Films and movies that have been on Trauma Now. So go check it out. Go check out Little Spark Films.
Yeah.
And listen to the commentary track of The Torture, because we made that commentary track with Joe and Catalina, people who worked in the film, people who created that. Yeah. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, get over to Amazon Prime and watch that, and then you can listen to our commentary with it too.
And Bezos, you can send us a check.
Yeah.
You got money to spare.
Yeah, why doesn't he sponsor us?
Yeah, at least with Audible or something like that. It would be great to have an Audible.
Actually, we are on Audible. Because Audible has podcasts now, and I made sure to get us into Amazon. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know.
We're on like 50 things. I mean, every possible place that you can get podcasts that you don't have to pay to get into.
It's great. I kind of switched to Spotify to listen to podcasts.
Oh,
I just listen to them on Spotify. I don't download them to my I don't download them to my iTunes to listen to it. I just pretty much listen to it through Spotify.
I quit using the Apple one because it started getting confusing with like pushing recommendations and stuff, and it made it harder to find your own stuff. So I switched to Overcast, and I really like Overcast and that one's a multi-platform too. It's on iOS and Android.
I'll have to give that one a try. Yeah, Overcast?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, you just search for the ones you want and you hit subscribe, and then you can either stream them or download them, and then they disappear when you're done listening to them.
Wow, I'm going to download the app now.
Yeah. So now Overcast
this is not an ad.
Check. Yeah.
But it sounded like an ad.
We do a lot of free advertising.
We do.
Yeah. That's the nature of a fan podcast, I guess.
Right on. Let me go ahead and pick another Ed and Nina choice here.
Here we go.
They put the Tingler commentary track.
Ooh, yeah. That was good. That was another one that I had not seen until I was prepping for that episode. And I had always assumed that the Tingler was all just a gimmicky movie. And it is a gimmicky movie.
It is.
But I assumed that I was going to think it was hokey and stupid because it was gimmicky, but it's not. I mean, it has Vincent Price in it, and I loved his performance. So, yeah, I really enjoyed The Tingler, and a lot more than I thought I was going to. I thought it was going to be dumb, and it wasn't dumb at all.
Well, the movie kind of turns into like a kind of like a carnival ride halfway, but but it's fun because that's part of the gimmick. And it was like the Tingler is loose; it's on the theater, and it's like there's a theater in the movie. People are watching a movie, and the Tingler shows up on the screen, and that would have been like people sitting in a movie watching people sitting in a movie.
Yeah.
And then they would have like those buzzers in the chairs if you were at the time, and it was an experience for sure. It was the beginning of the downfall of cinema.
Yeah. Well, everybody thinks
classy way.
Everything that comes along is going to make cinema go away, right? Like television and now streaming.
And yet, when people say, movies are all rides now and experiences, and nobody's going to the movies, and yet Avatar: The Way of Water is on its way to making $2 billion?
Oh, I haven't gotten around to seeing that yet.
I haven't seen it either.
I've got a kid who doesn't ever want to see movies, and so it's kind of like, do I want to just? If I'm going to go to a movie by myself, is it going to be an Avatar movie?
Is it because it's too loud and too like dark in the theater, or is it just because of the tension of like intense, scenes and stuff?
Yeah, that's what it is. He doesn't like the emotional manipulation that movies do, which is what everybody likes about movies, right? But he doesn't like that.
Yeah, it's interesting how some people adapt to certain things and others don't. Like Sarah, for example, she has misophonia. She doesn't like being in a place that has loud noise, but she'll go to concerts, and that doesn't bother her. Oh. It has to do with, I guess, how your brain is like taking that noise. If it's something that's annoying you, it becomes more and more annoying by the second. Yeah. But if it's something you're there to listen to, you kind of just adjust to it, and it's fine.
Does she wear earplugs to concerts?
I don't. Well, she does have earplugs, but
you guys don't go to a lot of metal concerts, though. I mean, those are super loud.
Those are super loud.
After a while, your ears stop working, and you hear the music through the reverberating in your skull.
Oh, I believe you. Yeah. So, how did that work out for you after all these decades? Is your hearing good?
It's probably could be better.
There's those tests that play like really high frequency sounds, and you have to click the button when you stop listening to it.
Yeah.
And then it tells you what your age is.
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want it to tell me how old I am.
How many eardrum cells you've destroyed over the years.
Yeah.
I think we've all done it.
I've seen Gwar like 10 times, and they're the loudest band that I've ever seen. They have
but then the fake blood gets into your ears and you're fine.
You're right. I think that makes it worse.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
What bullet point were we on? I forgot.
It was the Tingler.
From the Tingler, yes.
Ed and Nina's picks.
Sorry, Ed. I kind of went on a tangent there. But yeah, I love the Tingler. I think I watched it on TV when I was a kid. And I might have watched it fully for the first time when we prepared for this episode as well.
All right. Yeah. And that was great. I really liked the monster, the Tingler, too. Being able to see that.
I got to say, the A through Z of horror by Clive Barker can be an education in a lot of ways because it has a lot of old movies that a lot of people, might not be familiar with, especially if they're young people. They might not have ever seen The Tingler or other movies that we did like The Mask of the Red Death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it is a great choice to let Clive Barker and Stephen Jones take you by the hand on this little A through Z of horror.
Yeah. I am going to say José's 10-year Baphomet T-shirt design.
Oh, thank you so much.
I love that design. That design had been sitting around since Occupy Midian days, right? You made that a long time ago, and we only now made it a T-shirt, and it was neat because that just kind of fell right into place for our 10th anniversary.
Well, thank you. I thought it was an interesting T-shirt. I did it using a vectorizing software, and I had one little picture of Baphomet facing front. And so I kind of vectorized it and just made it black and white and super flat. And I adjusted it a little bit. I cropped it here and there, copied a few things, mirrored a few other things. And at the end of it, I had that wonderful graphic that looks like Baphomet with the tentacles and part of his chest. And it's like that broken part of him that's just his head, his shoulders, and one part of his chest. And I thought it was cool at the time. And since I was running with that whole Occupy Midian thing, it just started. And people were making their own T-shirts, remember, with Morgan Creek logos and whatever, and Nightbreed. And I did one of my own. And I was like, why didn't I ever like use that to become a T-shirt for the podcast? I don't know. I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you remembered and found it again this time around. And it's still up on our TeePublic T-shirt store. So go check it out. If you just search for BarkerCast on TeePublic, you'll find it. And
you'll find all that stuff. Stickers with the Jericho Squad characters, tote bags, cups, all sorts of things.
Everything you buy on there gives like a couple of bucks to keep the podcast going.
Yeah, most of it goes to TeePublic.
And we didn't do a Kickstarter this year, so we're just paying out of pocket so far. We might still do one later on. I'm not sure, but for right now.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that later after we're done recording.
Yeah.
That's a great choice. Thank you. Thank you for picking the T-shirt. I'm very happy with it, and I love wearing it.
Yeah, me too.
And, I did have someone once out of the blue say, hey, I like your T-shirt. I was like, cool, I made it. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I was at the grocery store the other day, and a cashier said, oh, there's a Clive Barker podcast? And my wife goes, he runs it. Like, okay.
Oh, my God. That's great.
Yeah. I thought that was
Hey, if you're listening to this, Ryan loves grocery shopping at your store.
That's right. I think that was the Co-op Market.
Even better.
In Fairbanks.
Support local.
Yeah.
Where you can get harvested snow, harvested ice, all sorts of ice picks.
Yeah, right.
And you can buy a moose.
Yeah. Actually, you actually can buy moose meat.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Yeah. But can you buy like seal or something?
No. Only Alaska natives are supposed to be
harvesting
seals.
Blubber and stuff like that. That makes sense.
Yeah. I've eaten it, because I lived in a village, but I've never killed a seal.
Yeah, the weirdest stuff I've ever eaten was I was at this celebration for I think the summer holiday in Sweden. And I was at the University of Alicante in Spain doing my master's there. And this one girl who was Swedish, she lived in a place near the Mediterranean, and she invited everybody in the department that I was working for. And we went there, and she had a reindeer carpaccio. So, apparently it's a traditional thing to eat in that Swedish holiday. And I ate Rudolph. And I wasn't sorry.
Almost every restaurant in Alaska has reindeer sausage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that for breakfast?
Oh, yeah. I love reindeer sausage, especially if it's spicy.
Oh, my God. All the vegan listeners are dropping our podcast right now.
But the worst thing I've ever eaten is walrus.
It's
like eating rubber bands with hair in it.
But that's a great description. Rubber bands with hair in it.
Yeah.
They look like rubber balls with, like water balloons with hair on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And big teeth. Is it very blubbery?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Getting back to the topics at hand. So I guess next is me?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things, and we're talking about food so much, one of my favorite moments was interviewing Hans Ruffert.
Yeah, he's on my list too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where it's like this guy that I've heard for so many years, and I've followed, news about him and, his cancer struggles and I even have his book now because I bought his cookbook.
Yeah.
Eat Like There's No Tomorrow. Great thing. Out of print. Should be coming in print at some point again, according to Hans in our interview.
Yeah.
But you can still find copies of Eat Like There's No Tomorrow on Amazon. And I got inspired by Hans Ruffert to eat better after watching his videos and his Gastric Society YouTube channel and all that stuff. It was really inspiring. And he's a great interviewee. He has his own podcast. And I swear to God, you can't shut that guy up.
No, he was an amazing interview guest because he knows how to do podcasts, and special thanks to Don Bertram again for recommending him to us. And it took us a while to get it together because Hans is super busy, but we were able to put that together, and everybody out there should go listen to it. It
was so satisfying to finally be able to do that podcast and to be able to interact with Hans. And I became friends with him on Facebook. I guess you did too. And I've just been following things that he does and following his podcast, and I just love his stuff.
That episode, if you want to listen to it, it's probably 2 parts of Magica and 1 part just talking about diets and food and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's another thing, right? Because he's one of the guys who knows more about Imagica than any other person out there.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe even Clive.
he made the appendix for the end of the later editions of Imagica. He did the Imagica card game.
Put out by Zarapushu.
Yeah. And Luna 7, right? The publisher.
The gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah. The art gallery that did prints of Clive Barker for a while. That Hans Rufer was involved with.
And it was basically to be able to make affordable prints of things because prints were so expensive.
Yeah, G. Clay prints and G. Clay. Yeah, I mean, Hans Rufer, check him out. His podcast is great. The way he speaks is just so pleasant, It's just so professional. He's a great media person.
So then I guess next would be one of Ed and Nina's. Mm-hmm. And I will say From Your Lips to God's Eyes, right?
Yes, I think that was it. From Your Lips to God's Eyes it's a silly sentence that I accidentally said. I meant From Your Lips to God's Ears, and somehow I was thinking of Nick's. Have you seen Flesh with God's Eyes?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about something. We were talking about Lord of Illusions, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, hopefully From Your Lips to God's ears, eyes. Yes.
Yeah. And that episode was kind of about the news of the Hellraiser trailer and Ian's Hellraiser screening and about Ed's interview with the Russell effects.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So that immediately that was like, that's the title for the episode today.
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
Yeah, for the news episodes, we like to try to find, a funny thing that makes you want to listen to the whole thing to figure out how that relates or how it fits in.
That was a fun episode, and it was a lot of people on the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, one of mine now.
Yeah.
So we're getting into the big hitters, aren't we? Because there's some stuff here that I can't believe you didn't put this one in yours. Okay. I guess I'll bring this one up. Hellraiser 2022 by David Bruckner with Jamie Clayton. That was one of my high moments, if not one of the highest. Maybe, it's on spot number 2 right under Dark Worlds for me. Hellraiser 2022, I loved it on Hulu.
I was supposed to have put that in there. But I kept thinking, that's obvious. I'm going to think of the other ones. And then I never made it into my list, but I'm putting it as number 10.
I just noticed you only had 9 items. There you go. Yeah,
I was saving
Chalk it up to a clerical error.
Because that was the easy one, and then I never actually got it in there.
That was, I remember when we first heard something about the Hellraiser, there's going to be a movie, there's going to be a TV show on HBO, and the movie is going to come out. It's going to be Spyglass Entertainment. And then was it always a Hulu project, or did it transition to Hulu at some point? I forgot.
I think
it started out as just a production project from Spyglass.
Yeah, and I think then it became Hulu, and that's when we started to actually hear more actual news about it.
Yeah, and people on Instagram, like Jamie Clayton, we're posting pictures on set with the new box. And we were
before Jamie Clayton was cast, they just talked about the actress playing Riley. I forget her name right now.
Odessa Zion.
Oh yeah, Odessa Zion. And then the news went nuts, running with this idea that she was playing Pinhead. And it's like, no, her name is Riley. It says right there, her character's name is Riley. Why would she be Pinhead?
I remember that. You even made a funny title for one of the episodes where we were talking about Hellraiser news. Riley the Cenobite.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion and people want to jump the gun and be the first to, hey, I used that expression properly this time. I didn't say jump the shark.
Right.
They jump the gun and they want to be the first to review it, so they start making speculations about the movie. But that was funny. Yeah. That was one of the great moments of the year, Hellraiser 2022. I just love that movie so much.
I didn't have very good expectations when the announcement was first made. I was worried. I didn't want to see a remake, and then it turned out it wasn't a remake anyway. And over the course of time, and with the news and stuff, it's like expectations were going up and up and up. And then when it came out, I just loved it. It's an amazing movie. I ended up watching it, I think, 4 times, and I think you've seen it more than that even.
I've seen it more than that, and sometimes just for kicks, I'll go back to Hulu and just play like a little bit of the ending when the guy is turning into a Cenobite, and I'll just let that shit play with like the Christopher Young music blowing in the speaker, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is such a cool moment. It's like, definitely, I'll just pull it up on Hulu and look at like Odessa O'Reilly on the bridge with Pinhead, or watch that last moment when they go through all the configurations of the box. And Hell Priest is telling Odessa at the end of the movie, I'm sure once I watch it 10 more times, I'll probably know this stuff backwards and forwards. But I was like so anxious about this. I was like, I just need this to be a good movie. I don't need this to be another like Nightmare on Elm Street remake, or like the things that come up and they make one movie and it's like, oh, Hellraiser's back, and then nothing else is going to happen for years. That's the thing I don't want it to happen. I want to see
that Nightmare on Elm Street remake killed the whole franchise, right?
Yeah, it kind of did. And
although that doesn't seem to be the case with everything, right? I mean, not every remake kills the whole franchise, but sometimes they do.
But I was so happy with it because I was expecting something much less impactful.
And it wasn't a remake. And there is a vocal minority. I think it's a vocal minority of people who really didn't like the movie. That's their prerogative, I guess. Yeah. But I don't understand it. But I accept it. Yeah, I have trouble accepting it.
I would like to see another movie next year with another Jamie Clayton being the Hell Priest. And I'm not trying to let's milk the franchise again for all it's worth. It's just, they genuinely had, in my opinion, good writers, good effects artists. It was a good story. I was very happy with the movie. Is it like impactful? I think it is. Yeah. It's like everything. If you just keep watching it, you'll find something new every time.
I think if they could make 3 of those movies, 2 or 3 would be great. And then stop. And then if Hellraiser comes back, maybe it'd be something else.
Like they did with Halloween, but better.
Yeah.
And now we just lost the Halloween audience. Sorry about that. But yeah, David Bruckner was involved with Halloween, right? So
yeah. I haven't seen those movies yet. The ones those new Halloween trilogy.
Oh, you haven't? I've seen the first 2, but I haven't seen the last one yet.
I haven't seen any of them yet. I mean, I saw the Rob Zombie ones are the last ones that I saw.
In the vein of what I was talking, Ed and Nina have a pick, which is Commentary Hellraiser 2022.
Yay! I agree.
Another cool episode where
you can hear the excitement in our voices, and we're like just aching to talk about stuff and in that commentary.
Yep. But it was fun. We had a lot of people join us, and it was a great commentary track. And again, I had moments when I was like struggling to say something because I was just so engrossed in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we had a lot of stuff to talk about, from Instagram posts by the cast, jokingly dancing around the set dressed as a Cenobite and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
It's a good thing about this social media nowadays. It's like you didn't used to be able to see all this behind the scenes stuff happening before because actors didn't really have social media. But now in 2022, it's like, oh yeah, you can know exactly what's going on with a movie. And there's going to be a lot of promotional social media posts. And I'm still seeing things on Instagram from the cast of the movie. They're still posting things today. It's kind of weird watching people do un-Cenobite things while they're dressed as Cenobites. But,
yeah. Well, that dates all the way back to Pinhead eating a piece of pizza, right? Is that the first or second Hellraiser? I can't remember.
I thought it was one of those shot in Romania, right? Like 7 or 8 or 6 or 7.
No, I thought that was one of the early ones. I don't know.
I know for a fact that there's a really funny image of Doug Bradley with a comb-over pin.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that one?
No.
Where Gary Tunnicliffe put 3 major pins on one side of his head that are like L-shaped, so they called it comb-over pinhead.
No, I don't remember that.
I need to find that image and send it to you. It's really funny. But it was a great commentary track. And I think, like you said, we were also excited and we were also like overjoyed at the fact that this new Hellraiser movie that came out, I really like it.
Yeah. We had a similar reaction to the Candyman movie, which we're not going to talk about because it's from 2021. That the new Candyman and the new Hellraiser, put together, that's a great last couple of Barker movies.
It has been, yes. Yeah. And even Hulu had the Book of Blood, which I didn't like as much as Hellraiser, but it was still great to know that movie happened. And
I liked it, though. I mean, I think I liked 2/3 of that movie, I guess.
Yeah, the last act is the only thing that really falls apart for me. But the first 2 acts were interesting. I enjoyed seeing the whole thing of people living in walls, escaping their pain.
And the girl with the misophonia.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Hellraiser, the movie, when we talked about it, our first impressions.
Yeah.
Oh, he also has Hellraiser reactions, which I guess it was kind of a mishmash of episodes about Hellraiser, right? We had our first review, non-spoiler review. We had our first reactions episode.
I think those are the same thing, aren't they? I think our first reactions and the non-spoiler review was the same episode.
It was the same episode, yeah. And then we did. My choice was the release of Hellraiser 2033, and Ed's choice was the commentary track. So yeah, it's definitely one of the big events of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this was a year where Clive Barker himself didn't put out any books yet, but we had Phil and Sarah's book, and we had Hellraiser 2022. So those things made it a really big year.
And we also had the usual stuff that is announced by Clive in interviews. Of course, we have the announcement that he's still working on Aberrat, that he's going to release a poetry book, and Phil and Sarah have confirmed that's coming out soon.
And the book of short stories, Fear Eternal?
Fear Eternal, book of short stories that should gather up all those loose stories that have been published in anthologies over the years, like Pigeon and Teresa and Hermione and the Moon.
Hermione and the Moon, and
I've never read those stories, so I'm looking forward to reading that. We always get that. We always get Clive announcing a lot of things in cartoons, animated series for Books of Blood, and a whole bunch of things, right?
Right, yeah, the animated series for Books of Blood, that was for HBO.
And a Mick Garris show with Clive Barker,
set in
British.
London. Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff that hopefully will make its way to 2023.
Yeah, and I love announcements like that, but I also I've also kind of learned to reserve,
take a step back.
Yeah, because if you get too excited, things just sometimes don't work out, and then you get really sad. Oh yeah.
And I remember Clive saying that he had figured out the ending for the
third book of the
Brand Secret Show trilogy. Yeah. And that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that takes its time.
Yeah.
And can't force it.
When you're writing like 4 books or whatever, you gotta one of them has to wait. I'm sure that we'll be hit by something that's a big surprise this year. We'll see what it is. And then we'll jump all over it.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know what's going on with the HBO Hellraiser series. I don't know what that status is for that, but
yeah.
I hear Clive is still interested in doing a Nightbreed show, so
Well, and this Hellraiser series was announced at the same time as this Bruckner movie. And one of them, we kept getting a steady stream of teasers and little snippets of news, and the other one just has been silence, this whole time. Other than Clive Barker was made a producer on both. He was a producer for the Bruckner one and for the HBO.
Sorry.
But the HBO one we've heard nothing, and HBO Max is under new management, and they've been slashing a lot of stuff. They've got financial problems.
Well, we'll worry about that when it gets announced. Nothing else we can do, really.
Yeah, or we may never hear anything again.
So give me another moment that you enjoyed that may not be necessarily connected to the podcast.
All right. Ann Bobby's Still Standing. That was a lot of fun. Ann Bobby put together a show that she streamed from a club in New York. So she sang a whole bunch of songs. She had kind of a backup band. She mentioned the Clive Barker podcast in there as a special thanks.
Aww.
So that was really neat. Yeah, it was really fun to watch. So I was excited about that. I took some time off of work because of the time zone difference.
I wish I could have watched that one. I missed that one, but it sounded like it was a great show.
Yeah, it was great. And actually, I think one of the songs is up on YouTube. So if I'll hunt that down and put a link to it here.
Well, thank you.
In the show notes.
Yeah. Every time Anne has done some project, it's always been pretty amazing. Like when she brought a bunch of diaries from the production of Nightbreed and I was reading them to a small amount of people one time.
I missed that because my flight, I had to go to the airport when she was doing that.
That was a really intimate thing where she was just sharing with people, who she was at the time and what she was feeling and how the movie was going. And all that stuff behind the scenes. So I wish I was there, but it's always great to hear that Ann Bobby has another project. I can do one. Let's see. I've got the Phil and Sarah episode right here.
Oh yeah, that
was a big one.
That's also on mine. A decade in the making, right? I mean, we've been or more. I mean, we were talking to them about it when we first started, all the way until recently, and with the release of this Dark Worlds book, we got an opportunity to promote a really cool book that they just had come out with, and we got to talk to them not just about the book, but about all their history with Clive and how they started and they were fans just like us, and they were members of the Lost Souls group and everything, and of the fan club, and so cool.
It was a really interesting episode, and it was a pleasure and a privilege to talk to Phil and Sarah and have a chance to tell them how much we love their work and how much we love Dark Worlds that was out. And it was probably one of the few times that I actually got to talk to them in person. So for me, that was a first, and I was really happy to do that. And I really want to appreciate Phil and Sarah for all the work that they do and all the essays they've written, the Clive Barker archive, the Revelations website. And they've really made it easy and nice to be able to stay in touch with the news that are coming out by Clive Barker.
Yeah, that was great. And I love their stuff. I can't wait until we get some more playbooks.
Yeah, that's right.
That's been a huge service to, I guess, to the fans, and to the archive that they're creating, right? That there's all of this old stuff of Clive's that's been long gone, out of print, only a play only produced for one night or whatever, or a couple of nights. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, all of that's going to be available, and it's thanks to Phil and Sarah.
That is just so amazing. I hope that the archive in the future, like they said, would be available for academics and maybe even people who are really interested in Clive Barker's work. They might be able to go in and take a look at some of the pieces or maybe check out some of the things.
Visiting podcasters might have a chance to go
check
it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, depending on how long they're willing to fly over, I think they should be allowed to see the collection.
Yeah. Well, for me to fly anywhere takes a long time, so I don't mind.
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, that was Phil and Sarah Stokes. And also kind of related, right? And this is on Ed's list, is the Lost Souls episode, or Okay. So Stephen Dressler and Cheryl Benson Green and the Lost Souls episode. That was great to be able to talk to them and kind of get their perspective on that whole time of the fan community and the website and the newsletter that they had. And
it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I was a member of the Lost Souls fan club, and I had followed the website, clivebarker.com, which is still up.
Yeah. It's just
still with a lot of...
Not updated, but it's still there. It looks really small on your computer screen now because resolutions have changed over the years.
Yeah, but luckily with browsers nowadays, you can just make the font larger. It's a pretty easy thing to do. But it kind of breaks some windows when you do that. But they still have galleries and galleries of Clive Barker paintings, and they have all those Lost Souls interviews and stuff that are still up. And some of them are the only places where you can read those things. If that website goes down at some point, maybe just Phil and Sarah will have some of that stuff, but not all.
Yes, right.
At least online on display. So there is that.
So that was really cool. It's been neat to catch up with the fan scene that was kind of around before we were doing it, right? For a few years now, we've been talking to Ed and Nina, and they were going to be on this episode even with us today of Coenobium, right? So we've talked to Coenobium people, now we've talked to Lost Souls people. Now we need to track down Hellbreed.
I'm even friends and have traded messages with Diane, who was the creator of Coenobium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's on my Facebook list, and she found out the blog post, and then she friended me on Facebook to say, "Hey, thanks for doing that. I'm Diane. Oh, wow. I'm the person who created Coenobium." And I was like, "Oh, great! It's great to be friends with you. Tell me stuff.
That's cool.
It was fun.
Yeah. We need to talk to the Dread people next.
Yeah, and then the Clive Barker Appreciation Society, if we can still locate them.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks, Stephen and Cheryl. You guys seem like you're in a great place. You're excellent people. It was fun talking to you, and you guys are cool as heck, man.
Should I do one? I have one left.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the maps by Mark Stained. Thank you so much, Mark Stained Art, the Magica maps that we did. So we've got the one map of the Dominions and the other map of Exorderex that we use for our Jericho Squad game, and I love those. It was a lot of work for him, and also him going back and forth with me a whole bunch on planning those. So I spent a lot of time, just helping him with the planning. Of course, he did all the work, but I love those. I'm super happy with them, and it was neat to be able to commission some artwork for something that we were doing.
That was a fantastic project that you kind of did all on your own, and when I saw the results, I was so impressed by it because it's such a beautiful map, or maps, because he made under your directions a map of the 3 or 4 dominions. 3.
Yeah, the three that you can explore, right? Because one of them is the 5th, and that's just the Earth. And the other one is anybody who goes there doesn't come back, so there's no map of it.
And if you're thinking, hey, where can I see this map? Well, we've been using it in the Jericho Squad game, right?
Yeah.
Our last episode.
I've been a little cagey about putting it out there online because I'm afraid people will just take it and run with it.
Copy it.
Yeah.
And start printing it on. It shows up. You can buy a fleece blanket on Amazon with a map of Magica, Clive Barker.
Yeah, that would really suck. I mean, and so if we did end up selling anything with that, I would be cool with it, but we would want to work that out with the artist.
Yeah, of course. And we do it as a limited edition.
Yeah, but I
definitely want to print that and put it under, on top of my computer station, because that would be amazing.
I think so too. Like the old days when you'd get a role-playing game that would come with a cloth map that you would put on the wall to look at it.
Oh, yeah. I love those maps. I want to give you kudos for that. That was one of the best things of 2022.
Yay! Yeah, I love those too. I was super happy with how that turned out. And we had two artists I was working with, but he ended up being the the most flexible for time and for our budget, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
I'm going to pick the next one, and it is actually from my list, but it's also on Ed's list, of course.
Okay.
It was Ed's video interview with Russell Effects after the Hellraiser movie came out.
I just watched that interview again last night. I think I mentioned that earlier, a little bit ago. But yeah, that was a great interview. And yes, it's an audio interview, but if you watch the YouTube of it, you can see all kinds of cool, like little screenshots and photos, set production photos and photos of whatever things they're talking about and stuff. And it looks like it was a lot of work for Ed and Nina to put that together.
Yes, that was a great job. You know, they were always having relevant pictures appear while they were talking about certain characters and makeups.
Yeah. And
she did a really, really interesting editing job. And that video was so popular that it also spawned videos about that video of people
really?
saying, so there's just new, Hellraiser behind the scenes making a video that just popped up. I saw at least 2 videos talking about it.
Yeah, I was looking at it last night. They have 43,000 likes on that video.
That's really good. That's really amazing. I'm glad you went there and checked that.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing video. We posted a little snippet of it in one of our episodes, thanks to Ed and Nina.
Yeah.
And Ed's our blind podcaster, and he's very into special effects, being an artist himself. And so he's doing more stuff. He was just telling me the other day that he was working on talking to the Russells again and talking to the artist who made those big concept drawings of the Cenobites that were on the studio walls.
Oh, yeah.
He created the Hell Priest design and the Mother Cenobite and the Asphyx. All the Cenobites were done by one artist. He's got a bunch of interviews on the being planned and some already in the can. So I'll keep an eye out for his YouTube channel, Ed Martinez YouTube channel, because I'm sure we'll have more stuff dropping soon.
Yeah, that would be cool. Looking forward to that. I know it's a lot of work for Ed and Nina.
Boy, oh boy, yeah, they did that. They did that interview in 2 parts, and then they edited it together so it looks like one long conversation. I couldn't tell where one ended and the other started.
I couldn't either.
Yeah, that was a really fun, and wow, I was expecting something to be like a short conversation, but then I started seeing this thing is like over an hour, and and then all the images that they got from Russell Effects and
it
stuff.
Was an hour and 26 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it's like sitting down to watch a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all just talk about the new Hellraiser movie and how they got to be involved with it, and of course all about special effects because Ed's there and he's going to ask him, how'd you do this mold and how did you make that and stuff like that.
And what did you use and how did you how did you overcome this thing making bubbles and It's great because that kind of behind the scenes stuff people rarely know about it, and it's always good that that's at least put on the record out there. I think the more you know about things, the more interesting they get. Yeah. So for me, that interview even solidified a little more my love for the Hellraiser movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
a lot of work went in it.
Yeah. Well, and geez, we've never had a YouTube video hit 43,000 as far as I know. I could look again. I could look again at our stuff. I don't look, but we had that trailer, the Nightbreed trailer that we had to pull down. that was one of our biggest hits on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Yeah.
And I guess you kind of ran out of things. Do you have any runner-up, or can I jump to one of mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so another one of my favorite episodes of the year was the one we did with Midian Crosby. Hey, Midian!
Yeah, that was super fun. That's one thing I loved about doing our Kickstarters is having the where somebody picks an episode and we get a guest, and because it's to having fans on with us is super cool. And especially somebody who's a fan who's like also kind of a bigwig in the movie industry. That was neat.
An artist herself, yes. Yeah. Midian has done a lot of stuff. She talks about all that work that she did in our podcast episode, and I really think you guys should listen to it. It's she's one of the reasons why our podcast continues to thrive.
Yeah.
And she's been a big supporter, and it was a lot of fun to talk to her.
And I watched Black Adam while I was on vacation, and I was thinking about, Midian Crosby put that, suit onto Black Adam.
The Rock, man.
Yeah, onto The Rock.
Mr. Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. So, but and the Christmas special, I watched that. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, she worked on that too. Good stuff.
Have
you seen that? That was hilarious.
I haven't seen it yet. I've seen the first 2 volumes of Guardians of the Galaxy, but I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You learn that Drax's cousin was killed by a GoBot.
Spoilers. And there's one more here from Ed and Nina. They picked the release of Pete Atkins' collection of stories, Our Hearts Are Ghosts, which I actually have it. I'm looking at it right now.
I think it's All Our Hearts Are Ghosts.
The Stuff Their Dreams Are Made Of, ZOA, All Our Hearts Are Ghosts. There's the Songs of Metal and Flesh script.
As an appendix. I saw that because I got this book too using my Amazon Christmas gift cards. I bought this book.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it.
You got some big hitters here from Peter Atkins, like The Return of Boy Justice, The Thing About Cats that came out earlier in the year as well. And he's got Children of Fire in the appendixes, which is a story of those characters that become Cenobites in Hellraiser 3.
Yeah.
Like DJ and
that was
Barbie
originally,
the Cenobite.
I think that was originally published in like the Dread Summer Special.
It was.
Yeah.
Good memory. So always great to have Pete join us. We'll have him join us again this year at some point. And every time he's on the episode with us, he's a great guy. I'm so glad that he overcame whatever infection that he had, and he lost a lot of weight on it. I was talking to him on the phone after he went through that, and he's just such a great guy to talk to. And I'm a big Peter Atkins fan. I got all his books. I'm looking at this one. I'm looking at The Return of Boy Justice. I'm looking at the Vampires of Summer, Morningstar.
I've read Vampires of Summer, and I'm in the middle of Moontown right now, too.
Yeah, the Halloween city. And he's got Big Thunder and just great stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff that he put out with the Rolling Darkness review.
Yeah. If you like Hellraiser 2, then you should be buying all of Pete Atkins' books.
Yeah. Go check out the Pete Atkins episodes that we do because they're always super fun. Some of them are on video, on camera, and it's great talking to Pete. He's got so many good stories. Yeah.
We need an excuse to bring him back on. Actually, one of our things from last year that we didn't get to was doing an audio commentary with him on Wishmaster. So that's gonna go back on the list for this year. We'll get to that, hopefully, if Pete will agree.
We got some overflow from some of the things that we promised.
Yeah, well, and Pete is so agreeable to things, we just kind of assume that we'll be able to do this. But yeah, if it works out, we definitely want to do that.
Yeah, and we always try to support the authors that we love.
Yeah.
And I definitely support Peter Atkins' stuff and buy all his books. And you guys should too.
Yeah. So
this is really good.
Oh, I got new glasses. So I can read better now. Reading used to be a big struggle with my old glasses, but because I lost my glasses in the ocean, now I got new ones when I got back here, and I can read a lot better. The bifocals work way better.
Is it a bifocal? Is it a flat top 28?
It doesn't have a line, if that's what that means.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays they can do those things almost looking like progressives.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're having a good time with that.
It used to be a big eye strain to read books, so I had to switch to audiobooks for everything. And not everything is out there is on audiobooks.
Is it a groove frame or rimless? Oh yeah, there's a frame. I see it. Okay.
Yeah, they're Nike frames.
Oh, Nike, a non-Luxottica frame.
Wow.
Cool.
You've gained an expertise in glasses.
I have. I work for that company, so
yeah. Well, and I'm glad to be able to read again because I'd have to hold stuff so far away, and it would just hurt my eyes, and I'd give up and fall asleep. But now I can read.
I have another runner-up thing in my top 10 because I knew people were gonna pick the same things that I did. So I did having Ian Swanson become a contributor with the podcast.
Yay for Ian.
Yeah, it was a fun thing to be able to have someone join and actually come up with a lot of interesting ideas. And he was one of our contributors in the Kickstarter, so he got the chance to pick a theme for an episode.
He was on the James K episode.
James K episode, Transmission Atelier. That was it. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. For a moment, I drew a blank. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah.
But that was another episode that brought us a different insight about the Imaginer book series.
Yeah. He originally came to us wanting to talk about Coil, the band.
Right.
But then he kind of put this James K episode together, and we ended up doing that. And that was really neat. It was really cool to talk to James K. And about his, we met him when he was scanning stuff over at Clive's studio house. He was scanning pictures. He was scanning a Modern Motley when you and I were there in 2014.
To go in the Imaginer books.
Yeah.
Color-corrected images, very well photographed and in focus. But he also, of course, Ian, we already mentioned the 35th anniversary Hellraiser screening for charity that helped out Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Yeah. And he's just been bringing so many interesting ideas to the table. And he even made like a couple of blog posts. So it's always fun to have people join and express themselves a little bit and have ideas about the podcast and have some feedback. That's what we need to grow.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was appropriate to bring another one in. Otherwise, we're never going to be done. But
no, it's the last one, so I think it's okay.
Yeah. So another one that I had in my runner-ups, and this doesn't mean anything in terms of if I liked it better than the other ones. It was just I knew there were going to be choices that you guys were going to take from me. Yeah. So I came up with 3 different choices. And one of them was, I think we did this one early in the year. It was the Dark Ditties Dad group commentary track of the Dark Ditties.
Yeah, because I think that movie came out in November, but we didn't end up doing the commentary until like the changeover to the new year.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a culmination of the Dark Ditties storyline that started with The Offer.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I mean, I love the whole Dark Ditties series. I'm a big fan of it. I love the guys who do it.
Yeah. And it started from, some crazy people creating a fake game show and killing people in their house. And the story progressed all the way to a zombie apocalypse.
The acting in Dad is so good because it's so intense. There's scenes that is just 2 people in a room talking and arguing about death and power and the guilt of making a deal with a strong power and all those things. Yeah. So that was really it's great to talk to Gary Smart. Every time he comes on the podcast, he's a great guy to talk to. And he's a director, he's a writer. He's done so many good things with Dark Ditties that every time we have him on, it's like a learning experience.
Yeah, they should put our commentary as an option on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I agree. or when they put it on disc, would be glad to offer those commentaries to them if they're willing to put them on.
Yeah, definitely. And
some of the quality in them isn't that good because some people were just talking on the regular home phones, and other people were talking and calling through Skype from England and stuff. But
no matter how much we try, we have a hard time controlling what audio equipment other people are using. Speaking of when stuff comes out on like Blu-rays, I really want Hellraiser to come out on Blu-ray. What's the holdup? Have you heard anything about that? We haven't really chatted in a while.
Don't make me go there, Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu just wants you to keep your subscription to them forever. They don't want you to buy a Blu-ray and stop subscribing.
I don't care about your bottom line, Hulu. I want to throw money at the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Well, and Hulu, I'm still subscribed to Hulu. They're advertising like Marvel stuff and some Star Wars things on there.
Really?
And it's like, why
isn't that on Disney Plus?
Yeah, why don't they just merge them together into one thing? Why do we have to have 2 things with the same stuff on it? Yeah, you can watch Andor on Hulu now.
I got Tubi, I got Netflix, I got Amazon Prime.
It's too much.
I've got Troma Now, and I've got Hulu. And I'm spending every dime I have on entertainment.
Yeah. I've got Netflix, HBO Now, the HBO Plus or whatever, and Paramount because I'm watching Star Trek stuff, and all the Star Trek stuff went away from Netflix, and it's only on Paramount.
Yeah.
Peacock. It's just too much. Oh man. Hey, that was from when we went to Texas Frightmare Weekend.
Yes, I finally framed this photo. I just wanted to show
great.
you. This is just an audio episode. Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I've been active on Discord. Check out our Discord there. I saw Ian posted a message on the Discord yesterday or today. Mid-Journey got me into Discord, so now I'm addicted to our little Clive Barker Podcast Discord.
Yeah, and I on the Discord, I asked if anybody had any favorite moments of 2022, but I don't think we had any replies to that. Coming up next, and we're just at the start of the year, right? This was our first new recording of 2023, but we're also going to, like we said, we're going to continue the A to Z commentaries with the very last letter of the alphabet, Z for zombie.
Zombie extravaganza.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I really like Land of the Dead. We've got Evil Dead. So Ian had mentioned The Crow, which I thought The Crow also was in a different chapter on that book. Wasn't The Crow wasn't there a James O'Barr chapter?
Well, yes, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, so The Crow is actually not in Z for Zombies. He was in a different chapter, I think.
I think he meant it thematically. It is a zombie, and I understand that.
I think he's more of a ghost than a zombie.
Yeah. Spirit of revenge.
Yeah, exactly. The Visions of Heaven and Hell, and actually that's going to depend on when your book is in the mail, right? It's probably over the ocean right now somewhere.
I hope so. I'm going to talk to my brother. He told me a few days ago he had shipped it out.
Yeah.
But he hasn't given me a tracking number yet or anything. Yeah. So he said, it'll take some time. It may take a couple of weeks. So I'm still waiting on it. So
that will happen. We're going to do an art episode. I've got some cool ideas for guests to be on that, and I still have to run it by those people. More Jericho Squad 77. Did you watch the last one? I know you weren't there.
I watched most of it, and I have to finish the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and since you've been to these, you know that I cut out probably 2/3 of it.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's streamlined. Like 4 hours will be cut down to like an hour and a half or something, because all of the time of people like asking about rules or which die do I roll, and all that stuff gets cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I put something on there by accident. I think that was supposed to be on my list. Oh, that's where it went. Hellraiser 2022.
Oh, Hellraiser.
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah.
I put from rumor to film. I thought that would just kind of cover all of, all our episodes and everything about Hellraiser 2022. But I put it on Coming Next by accident.
That's okay.
Yeah. So, there'll be more classic commentaries. So I'll just kind of pepper those in every other week or so. Until we get all of those done. There's still like a good 20 of them to go.
Stay tuned for our 2023 lineup. And like Ryan said, we'll let you guys know if we do a Kickstarter or if we're going to slow down for 2023. We're still thinking about that. So you guys will be the first to know.
Yeah. And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to tpublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.